No one is born hating another person because of color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Nelson Mandela. The belief that one race is superior to others is racism. Racism is a worldwide issue that has been around for centuries. Racism comes in many different forms. It could be as simple as a joke or as severe as murder. Two completely different actions, but both with the same meaning behind. We're not entirely sure why people can be racist, but often when our face goes red and our fists clench, we sometimes look for someone else to blame for our problems. As a community, we can do the same thing. People who look or talk differently to us are an easy target. Sadly, racism can occur in all aspects of our everyday lives. Today, I'll be talking about racism in rugby. Racism has had a massive impact on the world throughout time. In 1948 to 1994, there was a law in South Africa called apartheid. This law cut the rights of all black citizens so they're not equal to other citizens in the country. In 1981, there was a rugby series between the South Africans rugby team, the Springboks, and the New Zealand rugby team, the All Blacks. This tour divided New Zealand because many New Zealanders thought the tour should go ahead, and many believed it shouldn't because they weren't going to let black African rugby players play in the series and Maori rugby players, and they also didn't believe in apartheid and what was happening back in South Africa. There were many violent protests across New Zealand throughout this tour. I'd like to mention the great Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela stood up for what he knew was right. He got arrested. Arrested for protesting against apartheid and was imprisoned for 27 years. When Nelson Mandela was finally released, he then went on to become the first black president of South Africa. He inspired thousands around the world and demonstrated that everyone should be treated the same, no matter what their skin color. This got me thinking, could this happen close to home? Could it happen in Canterbury? Unfortunately, yes it can. Last year, there was an article posted on Stuff about a Canterbury country rugby player suspended from rugby for 20 weeks for racial abuse. The article says that a player from Waiho Rugby Club used racial slurs in a pre-season game against Marist Albion. Unfortunately, this isn't the only time that this has happened. In 2016, another man received a 46-week suspension for racially abusing a Fijian rugby player. Put yourself in their shoes. I know my face would go red, my shoulders would slump, and water would run down my face. Imagine if this happened to you. How would you feel? I'd like you to take a few seconds to think about this. To know that this racial abuse is still happening is absolutely disgusting, and it should not happen on the rugby field or anywhere. Canterbury Rugby's focus is to unify and serve our community. Canterbury Rugby say they promote an inclusive game for all and do not accept racism in any shape or form. I'd like you to take a few seconds to look at this image behind me. How does this make you feel? Imagine if this happened to you daily. I'd like you to listen to the story about a kid in Wellington. He says when he was playing in the first 15 for rugby, people from the sideline called him and some others in his team apes and monkeys. Imagine this, just trying to play the game you love, and then you hear from the sideline, parents from the sideline calling you an ape and a monkey just because of the colour of your skin. This is outrageous. In my 7-year rugby career, I've been lucky enough not to be racially discriminated against. I've seen it or heard it. But it got me thinking, what would I do if I saw this behaviour happening? Would I be an upstander or a bystander? I'd like to think I'd be an upstander. I'd like to think if anyone saw this happening, they would be too. If you ever do see this shocking behaviour, here are some ways you could try to stop it. Confront the offender about their actions. Tell the coach or manager. Tell your parents. Tell the referee or touch judges. And above all, comfort the victim. Racism should not be tolerated in rugby or any sport or in our lives. My challenge to you all is to always stick up for anyone who is a victim of racism or abuse. I'll leave you with the words of Nelson Mandela. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. Thank you.